Good morning, YouTube, and welcome to What the Papers Say with Deke Jackson on his 100 gigabyte data challenge. Today is the 20th of August 2020, and I'm in Inverness on my way to a busk, so I may make this somewhat brief for a number of reasons. First of all, today's paper is the Daily Mirror, and interestingly enough, it's not a Scottish version. I believe because the Daily Mirror are cheap ass and they can't afford a journalist who gives a fuck about Scotland. But I don't mind, because it should mean that this paper is actually full of international news. You would think so, but actually there's more about Coronation Street. But that's another story. And so, as well as being in a bit of a rush to get into Inverness, this paper really doesn't have much news. It really doesn't. It's got a couple of stories, and then it starts banging on about Coronation Street and celebrities. In fact, let's do the front page first. The Coward and the Brave is a story about the Manchester Arena bomber, or his brother rather, because the actual bomber is in pieces smeared over the walls of the Manchester Arena. Manchester Arena bomb plotter Hashim Abedi did not have the courage to face his victims' relatives yesterday. Well, that may be, but I'll tell you who else didn't have the courage to face the victims, and that's David Cameron and Theresa May, who are both directly responsible for this bombing. Absolutely. As sure as these people made the bomb and went there, David Cameron and Theresa May are absolutely responsible for these people's behaviours and existence in Britain. Because David Cameron sanctioned and took part in the destruction of Libya and the murdering of Colonel Gaddafi by Western powers. And then his predecessor, I've already had my coffee today, which is a shame because I could do with another one. The one who came after him, Theresa May, his successor, Theresa May, she had been Home Secretary while he was Prime Minister, and she operated an open door policy to people, including mad jihadi Muslim wankers, who wish to go to Libya, learn how to load a Kalashnikov, make bombs and kill people, and then come back. Thousands of them left the UK with Theresa May's knowledge and approval. They went to Libya, they went to training camps in the deserts where mad jihadi Muslim crackpots trained them how to kill people on behalf of us so we could destroy the Gaddafi regime. And then when they'd finished doing that, we let them back in with their newly acquired lust for killing people. And Theresa May is the Home Secretary who did that, and David Cameron is the Prime Minister who did that, and they should both be in the dock for that, along with this crazy Muslim jihadi. So, now we've dealt with what passes for the news in this paper, let's open it up and have a look at the page 2 and 3, because it's a stunning piece of news journalism, right? Because on one page we have a full page advert for Tesco's, the equivalent of Walmart, and on the other page we have a full page expose of how Leonardo DiCaprio isn't as fit as he was when he was 17. Really, that is the news. For all of you who are waiting on being informed of current events or otherwise, that is the news. Leonardo DiCaprio not quite as fit as he used to be, and Tesco have half-price Pringles. There you go. So, Manchester bomber refuses to face court. See headline rant. Mother's emotional response. I don't enjoy seeing pictures of victims I never knew. I never gave a fuck about these people while they were alive, and I'm not going to pretend that I really give a fuck about them now they're dead. What I give a fuck about is the people who caused this to happen with their insane policies and warmongering across Libya. So, the next big story we come to is the coronavirus, not surprisingly, given what's going on. And a number of stories here. One of them refers to the lockdown in Oldham. Now, a couple of things about the coronavirus in Britain. Has anybody else noticed Good morning, Nin Hersag. Has anybody else noticed they've stopped giving daily death rates? I did, and so I went looking, and I discovered, in fact, NHS England and Scotland have stopped publishing daily death rates. I wonder if that could be because they're almost non-existent. In fact, as far as I could find out, nobody died yesterday. In fact, exactly, Mr. Hersag, they're now just reporting positive cases, what they call cases. Yes, cases in Oldham, a cluster of 30 infections. Imagine if we did track positive cases of the flu and lock the country up because of it. So, because of 30 cases in Oldham, they're threatening to lock all the people of Oldham up. Really, they're threatening a return to lockdown. It gets worse. The reason that we know there's 30 cases in Oldham is because there's been a massive increase in testing. And I should like to share with you a vision I have of the future. I'm having the strangest dream. You're driving along, minding your own business, etc., blah, blah, and suddenly your vehicle encounters a long queue of traffic. It's a roadblock. Up ahead, there's the army with a couple of tents on either side of the road, and they're pulling people over and making them have a test to find out if they're showing positive for antibodies. Now, leaving aside the number of false positives in these knocked out Chinese chemical soup tests, which is one issue I have with the idea of testing. What the fuck are the army doing on the streets of my country, testing people for a disease that would struggle to kill my elderly grandma so they could reinstitute a draconian fascist lockdown in my town, based upon the slim notion that one or two people, or none, may die as a result of the infection spreading, really. So look out for that, because I swear it's coming to you soon. Roadblocks and compulsory roadside testing conducted by the army on you. Now at that point, I shall be voicing my desire to not have any medical procedure, including a test, as per my rights under the United Nations Charter of Human Rights, which I don't actually believe in anyway, but I'm going to give it a shot. And if the army declines to let me go without a test, they will have to bodily hold me down, limb by limb, to force that swab up my nose. I swear, I am not going gently into that good night. But watch out for that strange dream, because I do believe we are headed for that world. Roadside testing by the army, so that they can determine that, oh no, the people of Inverness have got too much coronavirus. We'll have to close it down. So daily deaths now almost invisible. They're actually announcing they will not report them. The best figure, or the latest figure I could find, is 3 people died 7 days ago. 3 people died 7 days ago in the UK from coronavirus. And I don't know what that equates to if you extrapolate that over, numbers of millions. But I'd like to share with you some research I did just while I was scanning this paper. There are 2 million people die every year from diarrhea, current coronavirus deaths, alleged coronavirus deaths, because in the UK we count a coronavirus death as anyone who dies within 28 days of a positive test. Let me run those figures by you again, because they may seem a little confusing at first. Anyone who dies of anything, like you could die in a car crash, seriously, if you had a positive test in the last 28 days, you go on the statistics of people who died with, they call it. This is the kind of neuro-linguistic programming, Orwellian doublespeak that they're using. He died with coronavirus. Yes, he died with. I've got coronavirus in the van with me. I picked it up. Coronavirus was hitchhiking on the A9. I picked coronavirus up, and we're both going to Inverness. So I am with coronavirus. Now, see my previous comments about the roadside testing. So if you test everyone in the country, 63 million people, and then thousands of them die within 28 days with coronavirus, oh my goodness, you've got a pandemic. It's a scam. I can't believe the scale of this lie and fraud. And the longer it goes on and the more fraudulent and dishonest and deceitful it gets, the more convinced I am this is some deep, dark shit. Really, since this doesn't stack up to any logical, rational investigation or analysis, this is some deep, dark doo-doo. Annual deaths, preventable annual deaths. Should the World Health Organization wish to save some lives, they don't give a fuck. We don't give a fuck who dies on planet Earth. Millions of people die every year from preventable disease. Diarrhea is caused by dirty water. I mean, we could fix that. 2 million deaths, we could fix that for $2 million. You know, that's less money than Donald Trump spends on hair care products. 2 million die from diarrhea, 1.6 from diabetes. 1.5 people die from road injuries. Tuberculosis kills 2 million people. That's an infectious disease. I haven't seen them locking down Kinshasa. Birth complications kill 1.8 million people annually. So if you add all of these up, let's see, 2, 4, 7, 9, 10, so there's 10 to 12 million preventable deaths every year that the World Health Organization could get its fascist United Nations teeth into. And I'd quite like them to do something about that. Airport tests and the current limiting of your right to travel. Good morning, Sandy McNabb. Airport tests to cut time in self-isolation. Virus testing at airports could be used to cut the quarantine period, Matt Hancock said yesterday. Open brackets. Virus testing will become a queue at the airport, as will the I've had a vaccine queue. It's coming soon to an airport near you, to a Life near you, to a shopping mall near you, to a Starbucks near you. Got your vaccine certificate? Step this way. Get on board the airplane. Fly to Malaga. Frolic in the sun. No vaccine certificate? Tough shit. No flight for you. Bad monkey. Anger over exams chaos. This story is running and running and running. More exams chaos. And because I was interested, I Googled some of the statistics. And it turns out that 50% of school leavers in the UK apply to or go to some kind of college. However, a lot of them are like, Plymouth Polytechnic to study hairdressing. I mean, we're not talking that many people have been excluded from their master's degree at Oxford and Cambridge. So please stop the fuck whinging. Virus boosts scam artists. There were 66% more scams in the first half of 2020. How do they quantify that? Who's coming up with these figures? 66% more scams in the first half of 2020 as they took advantage of the virus lockdown. Examples include fake listings for camper vans. I mean, that must be for, escapism for those Mad Max types who think they can run off to Scotland. I've seen lots of them. Investment scams went up 49% last month. I urge everyone, if they're in doubt and something doesn't sound right, to take the time to check it out. Good advice. That includes you and coronavirus. It doesn't seem right. Jim Winter of Barclays, head of fraud, did not say, I would urge everyone, if they're in doubt about what the government is saying about coronavirus and it doesn't sound right, take the time to check it out. I know I did. And now, soap opera news. Emmerdale, Coronation Street, blah, blah, blah. We're getting a mild storm in the UK. Ignore warnings and storm will cause deaths, RNLI. Will hit the West Country. The remnants of ex-tropical storm Kyle are joining, looking at 15-foot waves. I mean, a surfer would scoff at that. A 15-foot wave, it's barely worth me getting my wetsuit on for. Oh, James Blunt. You gotta love this story if you think James Blunt is a cunt. Singer James Blunt got scurvy after going on a meat-only diet out of principle against his vegan friends. What cunt? Really? James Blunt is studying sociology at the University of Bristol. He said that on his course, there were 170 girls, all vegetarian or vegan. How does he know? What, did he interview them all? What kind of sleazy, creepy old man is he, going about interviewing the teenage students on his course? Are you vegan or vegetarian? And so he became a carnivore completely, and it took him about 14 days to get scurvy. Oh no, 6 to 8 weeks to get very unhealthy. There were 170 girls, all vegetarian or vegan. So out of principle, I decided to become a carnivore. What kind of principle is that? Oh, everybody else is vegan, I'm going to eat something else. He dined on mince and chicken. I mean, you know, that's not even a very wide diet for meat, is it? Madonna remains the rudest celebrity I met in my seeing her growing old disgracefully. Face pumped full of Botox, half-naked selfies, pics on Instagram of her smoking weed. This is nothing but sad and desperate. Somewhat agree. Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm kept isolated and watched. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell is one of the evil duo of Mr. Epstein, or Epstein, and herself, who procured young women for the rich and powerful to fuck. Which, you know, on one level does not surprise me at all. That rich and powerful people get to fuck whoever they want is surely no surprise to anybody, is it? You know, what's surprising me is that she's still alive and that people believe Epstein committed suicide. Really, she complains that she is isolated and monitored by psychologists posing as jail guards. I wouldn't be worried if they were psychologists. I'd be worried if they were assassins. The fact that she's still alive, I think, gives me grounds to believe that she's actually cutting some kind of deal, that she may actually plead to a lesser count of corrupting a minor, do 6 months, and then get to retire to the Caribbean, where she'll write her memoirs saying no such thing ever happened and Bill Clinton never did that. Insert name of politician of your choice. Desperate teenage migrant dies in sea trying to get to the UK. 16-year-old refugee boy whose body was found washed up on the beach yesterday lies firmly at Priti Patel's door, a human rights group said. How? It was a brutal reminder of the vile people smugglers who exploit vulnerable people. I don't think they're exploiting the people who've travelled from Sudan to the beaches of France under their own steam. I don't think that's people being exploited at all. Obviously, he wants to come to the UK. I don't think there's people on the beaches in France saying, the UK is a lovely country. Honestly, the streets are paved with gold. All the women are good looking. Beer comes out of the taps. I don't think they're doing that. I think the people who want to come to the UK want to come to the UK. And no, I strongly suspect the French police are selling them the boats, not vile people smugglers, because the French have got a sense of humour and they're pissed off that we're leaving Europe. Allez, allez, le Grande-Bretagne, ici! You know, here's a lollipop and an inflatable dinghy. 4 ex-pros die with dementia in the space of a week. More concerns that heading football is a risk. Okay, heading football may be a risk. I think there was another story related to that. Something about heads. Okay, yeah, maybe the air pollution. All right. Yeah, heading a football may be dangerous. Being punched in the head, surely much more dangerous. I wonder what the figures on boxers dying from dementia are. But also, air pollution has been linked to asthma. Oh, that's it. Yeah, there's a story later on about the link between air pollution and asthma, so I think we'll come to that. All right, here's an interesting story. Eco warriors. Army stealth battle wagons. British troops will be driving eco-friendly stealth battle wagons into war zones. The Jackal 2 and Foxhound vehicles are now being tested with hybrid technology as part of a $3 million investment by the Ministry of Defence. It is vital our armoured vehicles are equipped with the latest technology so we can maintain our edge. What kind of edge does having a hybrid armoured car give you, exactly? Do you think you're going to be able to creep up on people? Do you think that in the desert of Mali or Libya or Syria, there'll be a convenient electric charging point for you? And isn't it interesting that the West's military seem to spend a lot of time corralling and grabbing onto oil reserves, and yet they're planning to have hybrid electric vehicles to do it. There is currently some sort of transitionary madness going on in the planet. A couple of things. First of all, hybrid vehicles are not green. And even electric vehicles are not green if they're charged by fossil fuels. So not so much eco-warriors as woke pish. Woke pish goes into battle. Celebrity rubbish. Hogwarts fans are being asked not to gather at King's Cross for this year's Back to Hogwarts event. King's Cross is the location of platform 9 3/4, for those of you who didn't know. And annually fans gather there to mark the return to school on the 1st of September. They could always just cast a magic spell and make themselves immune from coronavirus, because it's a magical disease which isn't killing anybody. Air pollution and asthma are linked. A study has strengthened evidence of a link between air pollution and asthma. Now, I look forward to the days where there's a roadblock outside Inverness and the army are saying, "Excuse me, sir, I'm just going to test the emissions of your vehicle to see if it's going to give anybody asthma," because that is a very much more real phenomena than COVID-19. And here we have something I hadn't seen of much in the news. Wildfires in California. I spoke to Lou Berticus last night on the phone-in. He was telling me that California is on fire. And indeed it is, with wildfires sweeping the state. 30 blazes, San Francisco blanketed by smoke, and recently the hottest temperature on Earth in Death Valley, which I believe is southeast California. And finally, Britney Spears says no to dad as life guardian. Britney Spears has strongly opposed her father James returning in the role as controller of her affairs and finances. Now, I must have missed the point where Britney Spears was so mad that she wasn't allowed her own checkbook. I think something happened where she shaved her head and reneged on that contract in Las Vegas. Maybe the mafia got really pissed. She is arguing that Jody Montgomery, the licensed conservator who took over from him in September, should continue in that role. It's up to the Court of California to decide what's best for my daughter, says his father. It's no one else's business. It's private. It's not private if a court in California is deciding who gets your daughter's checkbook, is it? It's not private. It's in the fucking international newspapers. It's not private at all. And I'd just like to go back to that story about footballers heading things and dementia. Is Britney Spears nuts because of all of that synchronized pop dancing she did? You know, all that. Oops, I did again. Lived up at the maybe she's a headbanger. You know, maybe that gave her dementia. Maybe that's why she's not allowed her own checkbook. Whoops, I blam 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 blam. Very good. And there you have it. After that, it's just celebrity pish. Oh, there's a story here about Lukashenko, who may or may not be on his way out. I tell you, the European Union came out yesterday and said they fully support the people of Belarus's desire for democratic, peaceful transition to using the euro. I mean, having a democracy. Which is quite possibly the worst thing Ursula von der Leyen could have said for their cause. Because you can bet that Putin does not want the people of Belarus joining NATO, joining Europe, or leaving the fold of his criminal cabal. Well, that would appear to be what the papers say. I'm off to Inverness for a busk. And on a side note, does anybody know how to unjam the side door of a Transit Mark 7? Because it's really beginning to piss me off. Because I have to climb over the back seats. I have to climb over the seats to get into the back to get my stuff. Thank you, Hersag, Sandy McNabb. I shall enjoy. I hope you have a great day, because I'm gonna. Okay, catch you later. Cheers.